Deep in the heart of Black Hollow Woods, where the trees leaned too close and the shadows stretched too long, there lived a man who wasn't quite right. They called him the Crooked Man. His house stood at the center of the forest, twisted like an old spine, its roof caving in at odd angles, its windows peering out like squinting eyes. The path to his door was never the same twice. One day it led straight to his porch, the next it circled you back where you started. The Crooked Man liked it that way. No one knew how long he had lived there, but every child in the village had heard the stories. They whispered about his misshapen figure, his back bent like a question mark, his fingers too long, his grin stretching too wide. Some said he had once been a normal man who had made a deal with something ancient and awful. Others believed he had always been that way, a creature of the woods, neither man nor beast. But the villagers feared him for another reason. Those who wandered too far into Black Hollow Woods sometimes didn't come back, and those who did, they weren't the same. One autumn evening, a boy named Elias dared to find the Crooked Man's house. He had always been curious, more foolish than afraid, and he wanted to see if the stories were true. With a lantern in hand and a knife in his belt, he slipped away into the woods. The deeper he walked, the stranger things became. The trees whispered his name in voices that weren't the wind. The ground beneath his feet felt soft, like something breathing just below the surface, and the shadows moved when they shouldn't have. Then he saw it, the house wrong and broken, standing in the clearing like a waiting mouth. The door was slightly open. Elias stepped inside. The air was thick, damp, smelling of rotting wood and something worse. The walls groaned, as if the house itself resented his presence. And then he heard it, a slow, scraping sound from the darkness ahead. A figure moved into the dim light, tall, too tall, bent and broken, the Crooked Man. His smile was the worst part, stretched across his face, sharp and knowing. His voice, when it came, was like dead leaves rustling. "You shouldn't have come." Elias turned to run, but the door was gone. The house had changed. The walls stretched higher, the floor tilted, and the shadows slithered closer. The Crooked Man moved forward, his bones cracking, his limbs bending in ways they shouldn't. "Stay," he whispered. "You'll learn to like it here." The villagers never saw Elias again, but sometimes at night they heard laughter drifting from Black Hollow Woods, a strange, crooked laughter echoing through the trees, and they knew the Crooked Man had found a new friend.